Some of the wise say that just this much is the utmost. The purity of the spirit is here. Or do they say that it's other than this? Some of the wise say that just this much is the utmost. The purity of the spirit is here. But some of them, who say they are skilled, say it's the moment, with no clinging remaining. Knowing. Having known, they still are dependent. The sage ponders dependencies. On knowing him, released. He doesn't get into disputes. Doesn't meet with becoming and not. He's enlightened. Kala Vyuha Sutta. The lesser array. Translated from the Pali by Thanissaro Bhikkhu. Dwelling on their own views. Quarreling. Different skilled people say, whoever knows this, understands Dhamma. Whoever rejects this, is imperfect. Thus quarreling, they dispute. My opponents are fool and unskilled. Which of these statements is true? When all of them say they are skilled. If, in not accepting an opponent's doctrine, one's a fool, a beast of inferior discernment, then all are fools of inferior discernment. All of these, who dwell on their views. But if, in siding with a view, one's cleansed, with discernment made pure, intelligent, skilled, then none of them are of inferior discernment. For all of them have their own views. I don't say, that's how it is. The way fools say to one another. They each make out their views to be true, and so regard their opponents as fools. What some say is true. That's how it is. Others say is falsehood, a lie. Thus quarreling, they dispute. Why can't contemplatives say one thing and the same? The truth is one. There is no second, about which a person who knows it would argue with one who knows. Contemplatives promote their various personal truths. That's why they don't say one thing and the same. But why do they say various truths? Those who say they are skilled. Have they learned many various truths? Or do they follow conjecture? Apart from their perception, there are no many various constant truths in the world. Preconceiving conjecture. With regard to views, they speak of a pair, true and false, dependent on what's seen, heard, and sensed, dependent on precepts and practices. One shows disdain for others. Taking a stance on his decisions. Praising himself, he says, my opponents are fool and unskilled. That by which he regards his opponents as fools is that by which he says he is skilled. Calling himself skilled, he despises another who speaks the same way, agreeing on a view gone out of bounds, drunk with conceit, thinking himself perfect. He has consecrated, with his own mind, himself, as well as his view. If, by an opponent's word, one's inferior, the opponents of inferior discernment as well. But if, by one's own word, one's an attainer of wisdom, enlightened, no one among contemplatives a fool. Those who teach a doctrine other than this are lacking in purity. imperfect. That's what the many sectarians say. For they're smitten with passion for their own views. Only here is their purity. That's what they say. In no other doctrine is purity, they say. That's how the many sectarians are entrenched, speaking firmly there concerning their own path. Speaking firmly concerning your own path. What opponent here would you take as a fool? You'd simply bring quarrels on yourself if you said your opponent's a fool with an impure doctrine, taking a stance on your decisions and yourself as your measure. You dispute further down into the world. But one who's abandoned all decisions creates in the world quarrels no more. Mahavayuha Sutta. The Great Array. Translated from the Pali by Thanissaro Bhikkhu. Those who, dwelling on views, dispute, saying, only this is true. Do they all incur blame? Or also earn praise there? The praise. Closing square bracket. It's such a little thing. Not at all appeasing. I speak of two fruits of dispute. And seeing this, you shouldn't dispute. Seeing the state where there's no dispute as secure. One who knows doesn't get involved in whatever are commonplace, conventional views. One who is uninvolved when he's forming no preference for what's seen, for what's heard. Why would he get involved? Those for whom precepts are ultimate say that purity's a matter of self-restraint. Undertaking a practice, they devote themselves to it. Let's train just in this, and then there would be purity. Those who say they are skilled are thus led on to becoming. But if one of them falls from his precepts or practice, he trembles, having failed in his actions. He hopes for, longs for, purity, like a lost caravan leader, far from home. But one who's abandoned precepts and practices, all things that are blamable, blameless, not hoping for, pure or impure, would live in compassion and peace, without taking up peace, detached, dependent on taboos, austerities, or what's seen, heard, or sensed. They speak of purity through wandering further on, through becoming and not, their craving not gone, for becoming and not. For one who aspires has longings, and trembling with regard to preconceptions. But one who here has no passing away and arising. Why would he tremble? For what would he long? The teaching some say is supreme, is the very one others call lowly. Which statement is true? When all of these claim to be skilled, they say their own teaching is perfect, while the doctrine of others is lowly. Thus quarreling, they dispute, each saying his agreed on opinion is true. If something, because of an opponent's say so, were lowly, then none among teachings would be superlative. For many say that another's teaching's inferior, when firmly asserting their own. If their worship of their teaching were true, in line with the way they praise their own path, then all doctrines would be true. For purity's theirs, according to each. The Brahman has nothing. Led by another. When considering what's grasped among doctrines. Thus he has gone beyond disputes. For he doesn't regard as best the knowledge of a teaching. Any other mental state. I know. I see. That's just how it is. Some believe purities in terms of view. But even if a person has seen, what good does it do him? Having slipped past. They speak of purity in connection with something or somebody else. A person, in seeing, sees name and form. Having seen, he'll know only these things, no matter if he's seen little, a lot. The skilled don't say purities in connection with that. A person entrenched in his teachings, honoring a preconceived view, isn't easy to discipline. Whatever he depends on, he describes it as lovely. Says that it's purity. That there he saw truth. The Brahman, evaluating, isn't involved with conjurings. Doesn't follow views. Isn't tied even to knowledge. And on knowing. Whatever's conventional, commonplace. He remains equanimous. That's what others hold on to. Having released the knots that tie him down. The sage here in the world doesn't follow a faction. When disputes have arisen, at peace among those not at peace, he's equanimous, doesn't hold on. That's what others hold on to. Giving up old fermentations. Not forming new. Neither pursuing desire. Nor entrenched in his teachings. He's totally released from viewpoints. Enlightened. He doesn't adhere to the world. Is without self-rebuke. Is enemy-free. With regard to all things. Seen, heard, or sensed. His burden laid down. The sage totally released. Is improper, is free from conjuring. Hasn't stopped, isn't impassioned. Isn't worth wanting, doesn't desire. The Blessed One said. Khuddhaka Sutta. Quickly. Translated from the Pali by Thanissaro Bhikkhu. I ask the kinsman of the sun, the great seer, about seclusion and the state of peace. Seeing in what way is a monk unbound, clinging to nothing in the world. He should put an entire stop to the root of objectification classifications. I am the thinker. He should train, always mindful, to subdue any craving inside him. Whatever truth he may know, within or without, he shouldn't get entrenched in connection with it. For that isn't called unbinding by the good. He shouldn't, because of it, think himself better, lower, or equal, touched by contact in various ways. He shouldn't keep conjuring self stilled right within. A monk shouldn't seek peace from another, from anything else. For one stilled right within, there's nothing embraced. So how rejected? As in the middle of the sea, it is still, with no waves upwelling. So the monk unperturbed, still, should not swell himself anywhere. He whose eyes are open has described the Dhamma he's witnessed, subduing danger. Now tell us, sir, the practice, the code of discipline and concentration. One shouldn't be careless with his eyes, should close his ears to village talk, shouldn't hunger for flavors, or view anything in the world as mine. When touched by contact, he shouldn't lament, shouldn't covet anywhere any states of becoming, or tremble at terrors when gaining food and drink, staples and cloth. He should not make a hoard, nor should he be upset when receiving no gains. Absorbed, not footloose. He should refrain from restlessness, shouldn't be heedless, should live in a noiseless abode, not making much of sleep, ardent, given to wakefulness. He should abandon sloth, deception, laughter, sports, fornication, and all that goes with it. Should not practice charms, interpret physical marks, dreams, the stars, animal cries. Should not be devoted to practicing medicine or inducing fertility. A monk shouldn't tremble at blame, or grow haughty with praise. Should thrust aside selfishness, greed, divisive speech, anger. Shouldn't buy or sell, or revile anyone anywhere. Shouldn't linger in villages, or flatter people in hopes of gains. A monk shouldn't boast, or speak with ulterior motive. Shouldn't train in insolence, or speak quarrelsome words. Shouldn't engage in deception, or knowingly cheat. Shouldn't despise others for their life, discernment, precepts, or practices, provoked with many words, from contemplatives, or ordinary people. He shouldn't respond harshly, for those who retaliate aren't calm. Knowing this teaching, a monk inquiring should always train in it mindfully, knowing unbinding as peace. He shouldn't be heedless of Gautama's message, for he, the conqueror unconquered, witnessed the Dhamma, not by hearsay, but directly, himself. So, heedful, you should always train in line with that Blessed One's message. The Blessed One said, Atadanda Sutta, the rod embraced. Translated from the Pali by Thanissaro Bhikkhu. When embraced, the rod of violence breeds danger and fear. Look at people quarreling. I will tell of how I experienced dismay, seeing people floundering like fish in small puddles, competing with one another. As I saw this, fear came into me. The world was entirely without substance. All the directions were knocked out of line. Wanting a haven for myself, I saw nothing that wasn't laid claim to. Seeing nothing in the end but competition, I felt discontent. And then I saw an arrow here, so very hard to see, embedded in the heart. Overcome by this arrow, you run in all directions, but simply on pulling it out. You don't run. You don't sink. Here the trainings are recited. Closing square bracket. Whatever things are tied down in the world, you shouldn't be set on them. Having totally penetrated sensual pleasures, sensual passions, you should train for your own unbinding. Be truthful, not insolent, not deceptive, rid of divisiveness. Without anger, the sage should cross over the evil of greed and avarice. He should conquer laziness, weariness, sloth. Shouldn't consort with heedlessness. Shouldn't stand firm in his pride. The man with his heart set on unbinding. He shouldn't engage in lying. Shouldn't create a sense of allure in form. Should fully fathom conceit. And live refraining from impulsiveness. Shouldn't delight in what's old. Prefer what's new. Grieve over decline. Get entangled in what's dazzling and bright. I call greed a great flood. Hunger, a swift current. Preoccupations are ripples. Sensuality, a bog. Hard to cross over. Not deviating from truth. A sage stands on high ground. A Brahman. Having renounced all. He is said to be at peace. Having clearly known, he is an attainer of wisdom. Knowing the Dhamma, he's independent. Moving rightly through the world. He doesn't envy anyone here. Whoever here has gone over and beyond sensual passions. An attachment hard to transcend in the world. Doesn't sorrow. Doesn't fret. His stream cut, is free from bonds. Burn up what's before. And have nothing for after. If you don't grasp at what's in between, you will go about, calm. In name and form. In every way. There's no sense of mine. And who doesn't grieve over what is not? He, in the world, isn't defeated. Suffers no loss. To whom there doesn't occur. This is mine. For whom, nothing is others. Feeling no sense of mine-ness. Doesn't grieve at the thought. I have nothing. Not harsh. Not greedy, not perturbed. Everywhere. In tune. This is the reward. I say when asked. For those who are free. From pre-conceptions. Fall one unperturbed. Who knows? There's no accumulating. Abstaining, unaroused. He everywhere sees security. The sage doesn't speak of himself as among those who are higher, equal, or lower, at peace, free of selfishness. He doesn't embrace, doesn't reject. The Blessed One said, Sariputta Sutta. To Sariputta. Translated from the Pali by Thanissaro Bhikkhu. Never before have I seen or heard from anyone of a teacher with such lovely speech. Come, together with his following, from Tusi to heaven, as the one with eyes, who appears to the world with its devas, having dispelled all darkness, having arrived at delight, all alone, to that one awakened, unentangled, such, deceptive. Come with his following. I have come with a question. On behalf of the many here who are fatted. For a monk disaffected. Frequenting a place that's remote. The root of a tree. A cemetery. In mountain caves. Various places to stay. How many are the fears there? At which he shouldn't tremble. There in his noiseless abode. How many the dangers in the world. For the monk going the direction he never has gone, that he should transcend. There in his isolated abode. What should be the ways of his speech? What should be his range there of action? What should be a resolute monk's precepts and practices? Undertaking what training? Alone, astute, and mindful. Would he blow away his own impurities. As a silversmith, those in molten silver. The Buddha. I will tell you, as one who knows, what is comfort for one disaffected, resorting to a remote place, desiring self-awakening, in line with the Dhamma. An enlightened monk, living circumscribed, mindful, shouldn't fear the 5 fears of horseflies, mosquitoes, snakes, human contact, 4-footed beings. Shouldn't be disturbed by those following another's teaching, even on seeing their manifold terrors. Should overcome still other, further dangers, as he seeks what is skillful. Touched by the touch of discomforts, hunger, he should endure cold and inordinate heat. He with no home, in many ways touched by these things, striving, should make firm his persistence. He shouldn't commit a theft, shouldn't speak a lie, should touch with thoughts of goodwill, beings firm and infirm, conscious of when his mind is stirred up and turbid. He should dispel it. It's on the dark one's side. He shouldn't come under the sway of anger or pride, having dug up their root. He would stand firm. Then, when prevailing, yes, he'd prevail over his sense of dear and undear, yearning for discernment, enraptured with what's admirable. He should overcome these dangers, should conquer discontent in his isolated spot, should conquer these 4 thoughts of lament. What will I eat? Or where will I eat? How badly I slept. Tonight where will I sleep? These lamenting thoughts he should subdue. One under training, wandering without home, receiving food and cloth at appropriate times. He should have a sense of enough for the sake of contentment. Guarded in regard to these things, going restrained into a village, even when harassed. He shouldn't say a harsh word, with eyes downcast, and not footloose, committed to jhana. He should be continually wakeful. Strengthening equanimity, centered within. He should cut off any penchant to conjecture or worry. When reprimanded, he should mindful rejoice. Should smash any stubbornness toward his fellows in the holy life. Should utter skillful words that are not untimely. Should give no mind to the gossip people might say. And then there are in the world the 5 kinds of dust, for whose dispelling, mindful, he should train, with regard to forms, sounds, tastes, smells, and tactile sensations. He should conquer passion, with regard to these things. He should subdue his desire. A monk, mindful, his mind well released, contemplating the right Dhamma, at the right times, on coming to oneness, should annihilate darkness. The Blessed One said,